Hello, I'm Brandy Agerbeck of loosetooth.com, and today I'd like to share with you how I'm preparing for my TEDxWindyCity talk and to share one of the principles in the Graphic Facilitator's Guide, Not All Speakers Are Created Equal. So on February 23rd, I'll be speaking at TEDxWindyCity, and if you don't know about TED is this big conference that happens once a year in California, and it's also sort of this amazing platform and sort of this big behemoth of a thing and sort of a religion to some people. But what it is a conference where all these different folks come together from all sorts of different disciplines, and they talk about their idea worth spreading. And that idea, the big sort of Papa TED, has spawned all these little mini local events called TEDx. So in this case, on the February 23rd, I'll be speaking at TEDxWindyCity. We have got an amazing day planned, and I'm so thankful to be part of it. And that day, I'll be talking about how to shape your thinking, and the day's theme is contrast. So I've got two challenges around this task, this opportunity to create the TEDx speech. One is the linearity of the medium. And so when I created the Graphic Facilitator's Guide, I had the challenge of taking this incredibly complex role of graphic facilitation and how do you break it down into all these pieces and line them up so you can put them on pages and bind them in a book. And thankfully I was able to do that and use a lot of visuals to help support the structure of the book. Similarly, the TED format is you have 18 minutes to share your idea worth spreading. So how do I take this idea of shaping your thinking, which is very physical and three-dimensional, and how do I break it down into pieces that I can line up and speak? So it's auditory and linear and sequential. So both of these formats are sort of like the opposite of how I think, which is very, very visual and spatial and kinesthetic versus linear and text-based and auditory. So that's the first challenge, it's just that's the medium. I'm doing that in a couple ways. One is I'm taking tons and tons of notes on index cards so I can shuffle them and pull things out and figure out, what are the essential pieces, and the index cards let me group and sort and move things around. And then I'm also doing this big giant sort of pin board of all my ideas so I can see everything at once. So I've got a couple different ways that I'm using visual tools to help me work on the talk. The second big challenge is about speaking styles. Now, so in the Graphic Facilitator's Guide, it's structured around 25 guiding principles, and 4 of those principles are around your listening skills. And I noticed that when people started doing work as a graphic facilitator, they'd get really bent out of shape if they felt like they weren't doing a good job. And sometimes their job was really hard because they were working with speakers or people who weren't very clear communicators. So this led me to create the sort of a field guide to speakers in the book under the principle, not all speakers are created equal. And so some people are really great clear communicators. Some people aren't. And so I wanted to kind of like create this, this field guide so that people could kind of see what the whole landscape was. And thankfully I've gotten really good feedback, and people sort of laugh about that section and say, yeah, I know a mumbler, or, I know that person. So in my case, I feel like I've got 2 of the types of speakers that are working for me, that work to my strengths, and 2 that I need to learn from. And one of the ones that is the way I sort of already work is the architect. So the architect is somebody who can listen to a conversation and they can say, all right, so what I think we're saying is that we have this foundation, and on that foundation are 3 pillars, this, this, and this. And so they see the structure, they can talk about that, and that kind of gives people a scaffolding to have their conversation around, so they can see the structure. Create sort of these new mental models for people to talk about. So this is the way I work. This feels very comfortable to me. And I know what the structure of my talk is. So I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it's going to use the day's topic of contrast to contrast auditory, sequential, and linear thinking with visual, spatial, and kinesthetic thinking. The second part of the 3 parts is that I'll talk about the micro idea of how you as an individual can shape your thinking, and then the macro idea of how do you create these environments for more people to go out there and shape their thinking. So I kind of got the structure, the scaffolding down. The second thing that I have going for me is the keynoter. And this is the type of person who takes the stage and says, I'm going to tell you 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here are the 5 things I told you. So this I learned from my high school English teacher, Mr. Liu. Tell him what you're going to tell him. Tell him what you told him. You've probably heard that before. It's great advice. So I've got this going for me. Now, there's two types of speakers that I want to learn something from. This is because I love the abstract, and I love the conceptual, and I love being stuck up in my head. And I need to learn how to be a little less of a robot and more of a human being. And the two types that I'm learning from are the emotional. So these are the folks who are really great at reminding you why the heck you're doing what you're doing and helping connect to everyone's emotion and our common experiences. And then the motivational speaker or the storyteller. This is somebody who's really great at taking you through a journey step by step. So I want to learn from these two groups because I feel like these are the weaknesses in what I'm planning. I'm really fantastic at talking about the ideas. I'm not so fantastic at help connecting it back to the human being, especially when it's remembering what it's like to be somebody who is beginning something and something feels new to them and they might be uncertain, and so to really walk them through. I learned a really great model once upon a time as a facilitator that if you're taking a group of people through a process, that you really want to think of it as a swimming pool. So imagine you've got the shallow end over here and the deep end over here, and you want to sort of get their toe wet and kind of walk them in and get them deeper and deeper and more immersed. I fully admit my style is plunge into the deep end and start swimming. So I like, I'm learning a lot from Nancy Duarte's book, Resonate, when it comes to the storytelling and walking people through. She's got this fantastic book about how to create powerful presentations, and she talks about the hero's journey and how to contrast what is with what could be, and help people, see that this is the way it is, and this is what we can aspire to. So thank you, Nancy, for the awesome book. And again, walking somebody through the ideas in a narrative way, and how to connect to the emotion. So those are my two challenges. The two parts I'm trying to bring more into my TEDx talk. After February 23rd, the video sometime after, I don't know exactly how soon, but the video will be posted. Believe you me, I'm going to tell everyone and their brother it's out there, so I hope you'll watch it, and I hope you'll spread this idea of shape your thinking. And you can let me know how I did. Was I still super, super thinky, or was I able to connect it to human beings? So that's just a little bit about my behind the scenes and what I'm working on. And again, highly recommend Nancy Duarte's book, Resonate, if you're creating any sort of presentation, telling a story. And if you want to see what the other principles are, check out the Graphic Facilitator's Guide. So thank you for listening, and wish me luck on the 23rd.